I actually thought the video about the body without organs was perfect. But maybe it was too overloaded and too short at the same time. Fortunately, Jason asked for some context for the BWO. Questions are great. I am really glad and will do my best to present the topic more clearly. That's not an easy task, though. The BWO hates context and wants to resist any classification. The BWO is what a Zen koan comes down to. It is the experiment in the particle accelerator that blows up the model. It is the resistance that psychoanalysis cannot overcode. The BWO, for Deleuze and Guattari, is the concept that should not be grasped as a concept. It is the vanishing line of change, the resistance, the fuzziness in every system. But now from the beginning, as promised. What is the BWO in context? In which context can you find the BWO? In any. I refer in my YouTube series more to an educational or therapeutic context. But beyond that, in what context can the BWO be described? If we think on a large scale, our context is the universe. So that context starts with the Big Bang and ends probably with the heat death of the universe. In between there are different contexts. Where is the BWO to be found in each case? With the Big Bang this is indeed difficult. Or simple. Because the Big Bang goes back to the first BWO, the radical singularity. It cannot be defined and no physical theory can encode this BWO. Then follows the expansion of the universe. The intensive flows of the early universe are coded so far that elementary particles are formed, and after this, gravitation builds more complex structures. Much later systems like our solar system are found. Here it is more difficult to make out an BWO. One could say that the BWO of the Sun is the eruptions and solar storms which break up the homogeneous structure of the Sun. They are chaotic formations which are currently unpredictable. But the real BWO in this system is something else. The solar system forms a system of low entropy that is continuously increasing. This mechanism is broken on Earth. The second law of thermodynamics works somehow differently here than everywhere else in the known universe. In this sense, life is the BWO of the solar system, which breaks with the second law of thermodynamics in a certain way. Of course, not completely. Erwin Schrödinger has answered the question, what is life, with the absorption of entropy from the environment. Of course, this is oversimplified. But in terms of Deleuze and Guattari, one could say that he tried to reterritorialize the BWO in this theory. But life is still mostly a singularity, which can be understood as a BWO. From then on, BWOs can be found more easily on Earth. For example, in multicellular organisms, single cells leave the existing coding and form cancer cells. Here, for the first time, the destructive side of the BWO is clearly revealed. But also the transversal transmission of DNA code by viruses or also new abilities by mutations can be understood as BWOs in relation to the order of the phylogenetic trees. The BWOs break with the existing order and provides a decoding of the existing structure. This becomes clearer with the emergence of culture. The BWO forms the basis for the formation and reshaping of cultures. Here, subsystems and revolutions, innovation and epochal upheavals emerge, breaking with the existing code and leading to radical decoding that recodes in unforeseen ways. People can form multiple lines of flight in this way, starting from a BWO that does not want to be coded in this way. Foucault in a way described a BWO when he defined critique as a will, not to be governed in this way. Many examples will be given here in the coming videos in terms of individual change, but this video was after all about a larger overview with more context. Is it now possible to approach a definition of the BWO? In the examples I have described the BWO mainly as a line of flight, rupture or singularity, and at the same time the BWO is the body which is the basis of the coding and thus the material or energetic foundation of the system. However, this system is not only coded, but also resists a unified coding. The closest way to understand this is the formation of complexity that occurs when distant elements of the system come into contact. I think Sean Carroll brought the example of a spoon in a glass of milk and coffee. Without disturbance, the two liquids mix slowly and continuously, but the immersion of a spoon creates more easily complex structures. This is just the first example of what might make BWO exemption from existing coding more likely. But Deleuze and Guattari always emphasize the unpredictability and the dangers in the production of a BWO, which can also always become an empty and destructive BWO. By the way, in the future, other singularities are conceivable. For example, a universal AI can form a break with previous life forms, and the infinity of the universe approaching absolute zero also offers many surprises in which unpredictable singularities break with the homogeneous cold. Spontaneously arising Boltzmann brains or new Big Bangs are in this sense BWOs, which can arise only by the potential of the infinity. There is of course still much to tell about the BWO. The reference to Louis Hjelmslev or Foucault are probably next step to explain the BWO in this context. Until then, I hope this explanation has been helpful or entertaining and has whetted some appetite for more. Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments.